Okay, so now that we've learned some shot composition, I want to actually show you guys how this works on a sample project. So Eric was nice enough to let me use his animatic and his models to get this ball rolling. All right, so what we have here is Eric's animatic for his story called Two Chicken. And I really hate the play controls inside of Media Player, so I am going to reopen this with QuickTime. Okay, and now I can actually scrub this thing. So, all right, we got Two Chicken. There's his title. I'm going to skip the title, and I'm going to go straight into his establishing shot. So he's kind of got, what is this? Is this like the sun?
Yeah.
Sun, mountains, and then I'm assuming your camera's going to kind of just drift down into your scene. Okay, again, we're not going to use any movement for this assignment because I've learned the hard way that I want to focus on composition for you guys first, and then we're going to start moving stuff after we've got our composition set. So I'm going to open up his scene here, and I know that he's got his environment mocked up. So I'm going to go into the camera tech folder. Oops, no. Week 7 model progress, and I'm going to open up Eric's scene. And is it countryside? That's the environment. Okay. So I'm going to open up his countryside, and we're going to kind of use his animatic for a guide in terms of where this camera is supposed to be framed and where it's going to drift into. And so it looks to me like he's got the water tower there on the other side, and then there's his little house. So opening shot is going to be something like this. And so I'm about to compose a shot. So what questions do I want to ask myself right now? What's the best angle? And then what's the best shot? All right, to tell the story. And so in this case, I kind of don't have a sun over here. And so I'm just going to have to imagine there's one there. And what I want to do is I'm going to use my camera. I'm going to select it, and I really want to be able to see it. Where is it?
Like the camera?
Yeah.
I think you gotta go to the show camera.
No, it's visible. Oh, wait a minute. I just opened his scene, so yeah, it might not be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new camera. So I'm going to go to Panels, Perspective, and I'm going to do a new one. There we go. And now this is my camera and not someone else's. And so there it is. Now I can see it. I don't know what was wrong with that other one, but it wasn't visible. So there's my camera. And what I'm doing is I just want to see where my camera is in relation to my scene, because that's going to help me determine my camera angle, my focal length, and all that stuff. All right, so I'm going to come back over here, and I just want to see it in relation to my environment. And so my camera is going to start out kind of up high on the sun, and then it's just kind of fall down and in. Is that correct, Eric?
Yeah.
If not, this is what I recommend. You want to watch, when we do get into movement next week, you want to watch doing too much in and out movement on your cameras. Yeah, the new Peter Jackson movie drives me crazy, that new Hobbit. He's moving the camera the entire time, and it makes me sick. I really prefer to kind of start out with something like this. So my camera angle is going to be kind of shallow to start with. I'm going to see my hillside and my sun, and then I'm planning on just dropping, too close, dropping down and in. And why am I intersecting those mountains there on the other side? How could I avoid that using what I just taught you guys? Field of view, right? So I'm going to select the camera, and I'm going to come over here, and my focal length, it's focal length or field of view, they're the same. I can change that to a wider angle lens. So I can change that to like a 24. And now I will stop having the problem where I'm dropping through the mountain. The other thing I can do is I kind of want to compose. I'm setting my camera up in this view because I'm telling you guys I just want to drop it down. I don't want to move it too much. You can move it a little, but you don't want to move it so much because then it becomes jarring. And so I'm planning on just dropping down, and I kind of want to plan this so that my camera is going to drop into the frame exactly where I want the shot composed. So I'm kind of doing this. I'm doing two compositions in this shot because we know that later we're going to do camera movement, but I want to block that out now. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to look at his animatic, and it looks like I just want to see where he has. Oh, he actually is doing a push. Are you planning on doing the camera falling down to frame the chicken? Is that what you want?
No, it's like it goes down.
And then we just cut to the chicken.
Yeah, and then it cuts.
Okay.
Cuts it.
All right. So when from the camera's establishing top to the fall down, it's something like this.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is the house on the other side. So that's not consistent with the. So I'll just pretend like this is consistent with what I see. This is not a bad ending composition, something like that. We establish that we've got a house over here and a house over here. That's what we want. And then we establish that it's kind of in, you know, Johnson's Farms or Uncle Ben's type territory. Foster Farms. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Kentucky KFC. Okay, so imaginary sun up there. That's my starting point. My camera is going to slowly drift down, and it's going to kind of eventually flatten out. There we go, just something like that, okay? And so there we go. I just wanted to block it out, so I worked it out on paper, and now I'm actually going to shoot the shots. So we're not going to do any movement in this exercise, but what we are going to do is we're going to shoot a series of stills showing that movement. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to go to my first shot. What do I want to do here under the view in order to see what I'm doing? I'm going to go, I'll just do it. I'm going to view,
Resolution gate.
camera settings, and I'm going to turn on resolution gate so that I can see what I'm actually seeing. What does that resolution right there say? Wrong, right?
Yeah. It's
960 by 540. So what do I want to change that to?
render settings to 720.
Okay, so I'm going to go into render settings, and I'm going to go into comment, and I'm going to change that to HD 720, which is 1280 by 720. Cool. All right, there, that's what I want. If you'll notice, it was very important that I did that because you see what happened. Suddenly I could see some of my water tank in the bottom of my frame, and that's not what I wanted. And so by changing that resolution to the correct resolution, I actually have to crop this. I want to kind of use the rule of thirds a little bit. So I'm going to put that mountain there, kind of in the bottom third of the frame. I probably want like a bigger sun up here, either over here or over here. I think over here is good. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and render that. And I don't know what kind of lighting he's got in here. Are you using sun and sky? Okay. So it's going to take a little bit longer. Did you not create the sky dome? Yeah. Here, I'm gonna just destroy this and make a new one, and then I'm gonna re-render that because I kind of want the sky dome in there. I think he turned it off.
It's too bright. No,
Yeah, it is too bright, but oh, that's way too bright.
it's a desert.
Hold on one second. Okay, so I'm going to render out this first frame. One issue that I have here that I'm absolutely going to fix because I can't stand this is we can see this horizon line on the sky. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately come into the sky node, you could just select the light itself, and I want to change the horizon height, and I'm going to give it like a -0.1, and then I'm just going to render this region to see if it disappears behind the hill there. And then I realized there's something else I can do that's pretty fast, so I'm going to do it. So we need a sun in the shot, right? And so I'm actually going to use the physical sun to get a sun in the background here. There we go. So I just wanted to make my horizon line disappear behind that hill. That's very important to me. I can't stand seeing that thing. It's like a giant waistband on the kills me. Because you know what? I'm like going to try to justify it, and then I realized I couldn't. Well, it kind of emulates the horizon atmospherics, and so without it, they don't have any way to create like the haze from the from the Earth, exactly. So that's why it's in there. All right, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the sun, and Eric doesn't really have a sun in his scene, so I'm going to put one in the background by just rotating my sun so that there's actually a sun disk in this utility, and it's going to show up here in the background. Hopefully I'll get it in 3 renders.
Or it's free? No.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so it's over here somewhere. They should give you a little utility where it shows you where it is. I think it's right up there. So it's almost in the frame. So if I rotate it down just a little bit more. Oops. Ah. And one thing I could do here in order to speed up my composition, there we go. Got my sun in the scene. That's all I wanted. Is I could have changed the resolution, but I'm going to call this close enough for government work. And I'm going to move on. That's cool. It communicates the idea. It's not perfect, but nor should your layout reel be at this point. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to say File, Save Image. And I'm going to save this in a folder. You guys, this is where I'm going to be meticulous on you guys actually using the video project folder again. So I'm going to go into the week 7 modeling progress, and I've got Eric's folder, which is where I'm reading all this stuff. And I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this video. And then inside of that folder, I'm going to make a folder called images. And then that's where I'm going to start storing these. So I want to start using this convention as well. I'm going to use folders, and I'm going to call this folder shot 1. And the reason I'm using a folder is because next week when we get into animation and we start rendering out individual frames for the shots, you can actually just keep using this folder and you won't have to change the name or anything. So I'm going to call that shot 1, and then I'm going to call this image shot_1, and then A, because it's the first one. So I'm going to say save. Okay, remember I've got some camera movement in here. And so I really don't need to do a lot of movement. I'm just going to kind of maybe go like 3 or 4 frames to show the progression. And remember, I planned this out ahead of time, so I'm just dropping my camera down. That's all I'm doing. It's a nice clean line, you know. Just because you can move your camera around doesn't mean you have to. You only want to, I'll just start asking you guys, you want to move your camera when you're doing it for an effect. If there's no effect other than, oh, I just thought it was cool, not valid. That's not a good reason to move your camera.
Sounds good.
Okay, and then I'm going to save this image, and this is going to be shot 1B. Oh crap, I'm saving those as ALSs. That's not what I want.
JPEG?
JPEG is what I want. And then finally, I'm going to, here's my resting shot. So I'm just going to do this in 3 frames. And that's a little low angle. I don't want that. There we go. Something like that. That's good. And all I want to do is just land here to establish that we have, I'm going to move this truck out of the way a little bit. Oh, can't do it. Move this truck out of the way a little bit. And this is cool to show that we do have traffic on this road for reasons I know that no one else knows, except for people who've seen his animatic. But I'm going to move those out of the way so that we're just establishing this is the overall scene, and there's house A and house B. So I'm going to go ahead and render that one out. I'm not really paying attention to the composition of the trucks on the road because I'm trying to save time. I definitely want you guys to think of that kind of stuff. I just am trying to demo this so that you guys can see what the process is. Okay, and this is where my camera is going to land. Floating road, we got all sorts of problems. I will ignore them for now. And this is going to be shot 1C. Feel free to use any convention you want, naming convention. That's just the one that I use. Okay, and then now what I want to do is I want to put this all into Premiere. So I'm going to launch Adobe Premiere. In you guys' case, you probably already have a video project set up that you use to do your animatic. I strongly recommend just using that guy and just replace the footage. It's already set up, it's already got your audio, it's already got your timing. Since I don't have access to that, I'm just going to make a new one. I don't have access to Eric's. Okay. So I'm going to create a new project just because I don't have one right now. And I'm going to put it in a location that I know, which is desktop, week 7, model progress, Eric, and then I'm going to put it in my video, and I'm going to call this Eric's layout. And so the reel that we created before is called an animatic, and that's the hand-drawn one. Oh, I'm going to Control X that, select that folder. The hand-drawn layout or story is called the animatic. Once you get into 3D, it changes names from animatic to layout. So I don't know why that's the naming convention. It just is. And then now I'm going to give it my name, Eric's layout, and say OK. And then they changed this in Premiere CC, so when it opens, it doesn't automatically open with a sequence. So I have to make one. So I'm going to go in here and say File, New, Sequence. And then in terms of video setup, you're going to do HDV, and we're going to do 720p, 24 frames per second. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to name my sequence Eric's 3D layout. Okay, now I want to import my footage files. So one of the first things I did was I made a mistake, and I saved one of my images as an ALS. which I don't even know what that is. I think that's like an alias format. And I want to show you a nifty little utility for in case you make a mistake like this on a whole sequence. You can open up this little utility called fcheck, which is Maya's little program for
Frame check.
playing back individual frames. And if I go in here, I wonder if I can drag and drop this. No. I'm going to go to File, Open Image, and then I'm going to go to that location, which is right here, Video, Images, Shot 1, and I'm going to open up that ALS. It should open in here, thank God. And this thing will actually allow you to convert images too, which is kind of nifty. So now that I have this open, I can go to File and say Save Image, and I can convert this into the format I want, which is JPEG. And so I'm going to call this Shot A JPEG. And the cool thing about fcheck is it also allows you to open up a sequence of images, and you can batch convert those a sequence of images as well. So it's very, very useful if you do what I did, like on a batch of images and forget to toggle the wrong thing. And instead of waiting an hour for this to render, you would just go ahead and convert the images. All right, so now I have my image converted. I'm going to bring it in. So I'm going to say import, and I want to go to images, shot 1, and then I wonder if it'll let me do all 3. Yes, it will. Awesome. Okay, so this is it. I'm going to lay these in on my timeline. And if I had Eric's project, I would also have my timing already kind of blocked out. How long do you want this shot to be here? Maybe like 3 seconds? Okay, so I'm going to do 1 second for each clip. So there's shot A, shot B, 2 seconds, and then shot C, 3 seconds. Okay? And so now I'm going to just play that back if I want to see how it's coming along. There we go. That's my poor man's camera move, where I'm focusing 100% on composition. All right? Composition is the angle of your shot and what's in the frame. Okay? And when my composition's good, then I can move on to actually start animating my camera. Okay, now I'm going to move on. Let's keep going. He says then that opening shot, we come in, and then we're going to just cut to the chicken in the road, right? Oh, it's a pan down? So, okay, so we're going to cut to the house on this. We're going to move the camera now, right, to the other side. Okay. So I'm going to come into Maya.
So Joe, I had a question.
Yeah.
Should we make a new camera for every different shot?
That's why I'm doing this right now. Yeah, because there's no easy answer to that. My so the question Leland had is, should you make a new camera for each shot? Another cool thing, if you guys haven't seen this already, if you use the brackets, the Maya kind of remembers your recent camera positions, and if you forward bracket, it'll go forward, and if you backward bracket, it'll go backward. So it's kind of like undo and redo for your camera placement. And so I just got back to my existing. And what I could do is I could create a new camera for the new shot. What I like to do is, my personal method for doing these kinds of stories is I'm actually going to save this scene as, and I'm going to save it as shot 1. Okay? Because that has one camera move and that's it, and that's all I need it for, and there's no other action in that shot. So I'm going to compartmentalize it and say that's done.
You don't have to make another sign too, right?
Yeah, it's already everything. I just keep reusing this. So you set up the first one, and then I'm just going to keep reusing it. So now I'm going to go to shot 2. So I'm going to save this scene as, and I'm going to save it as shot 2. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's a completely new camera move. It's got completely new subjects. It's got completely new position. And so therefore, there's no reason for me to reuse the camera and unnecessarily keep my timeline and my scene file huge. Okay, by compartmentalizing, and trust me on this, because I tried to explain it to him last time, but
Right.
you guys will still do it. I'm sure there's people in this room who will keep it all on one scene. And what will happen is you're going to try to do all your shots in one scene on one timeline. And at about 500, 600, 700 frames, you're going to go, oh shit. This is an ungodly amount of stuff that I'm having to now manage inside of my scene. And it's going to kind of collapse under its own weight. So I recommend compartmentalizing. Break your shots down unless you have a series of shots that include the same action.
You basically mean key shots.
Yeah, key shots, but if you have like a sequence between like 3 characters that can't be broken up animation-wise, then you might want to put 2 or 3 or 4 camera shots in the same scene. Okay? Otherwise, make a new scene for the new shot, unless the action can't be broken up. Until I get an example, that's going to be hard to explain. Okay, so his next shot, he's saying, is around on this side. And he has us opening up on the hut. I'm going to lose that car because it's kind of in the way. This is the male character's hut, right? Or shack?
Sorry, it's on the other side.
It's on the other side? Okay. So where do you want it? You just tell me.
Just right there, a little higher.
Okay. And then it drops down and he's clucking and picking feet out right there at the base of the road, right?
On the other side.
Oh, on the other side. Okay. So I'm going to move my camera back until I get to the other side of the road. There we go. That's it? Okay. So in this case, I'm having a hard time composing that house to kind of make it the same size as it was in his animatic. So what could I do? Change the field of view, right? I'm going to select the camera, and right now my 24 is too wide. And so if I want to make that house a little bit more prominent in the frame, I'm going to change this to something like a 50. There we go. And see how now I'm going to be able to whoop, come right down, get my birdie in the frame. Okay? So I just asked myself, well, I asked myself more than 2 questions. I said, what's the best angle? But then in that, I also included field of view in order to compose the shot the way that he wants it. All right, so I changed the field of view, but what I'm missing is my chicken. And so I'm going to go in here. I'm actually going to, how do I want to do this? I think I'm just going to import it. So I'm going to say import, and it's male chicken, right? 18. And where is he? Oh, he's huge. And he's not grouped. So I'm going to, unfortunately, I can't undo that operation. Let's see, what can I do? What can I do?
How you putting it?
Eric, group your stuff. This really sucks. So my chicken's not in frame. All right, I'm going to just delete as much as I can. All right, what I want to do is this time when I import him, so I'm going to say import selection, file, import. I'm going to turn on this box right here, group, which is going to make everything that it imports into a group. So I'm going to say import and chicken, and then now I can select this guy and hit the up arrow, and he is ginormous. So what I'm going to do is, this is my shot camera that I'm currently using, this perspective 1. And I want to select that, and I'm going to name this, what I do with each shot is I'm going to name this to shot 02. And the reason I do that is so that little ornament right there says the shot number. And that'll become useful later as we start getting into Play Blast, into hardware renders. For now, it's not really going to make any difference. And then I'm going to up arrow this dude, and now I want to get a different perspective view. And I'm going to use my different view to actually compose this dude and get him to be the right size. So that's too big, unless we want to make a giant chicken. but that's a whole nother,
He's all story.
yeah. So I'm going to change the pivot point, and I'm going to scale this dude down. And he's breaking now. And why is that?
Breaking the rate.
Breakdancing?
Yeah, he's got history on him. So I'm going to say edit, delete by type, history. And then now, oh,
Center pivot?
what's weird is I grouped the whole dude. Huh.
Combine?
No. Actually, I could combine them. Yeah, I'm going to just do that because I'm really just trying to get my thing blocked out. And so I'm going to say mesh combine. And, oh, I know why, because those are NURBS. He's got NURBS eyeballs on him. And he's got lattices on those as well. And for some reason, I don't know why those aren't being grouped with the rest of it. But I'll be damned if I don't get this solved. Okay. And now, son of a bug. Eric, what'd you do? Are there two sets of eyeballs? That's what it is. Yeah.
You can see him
Yeah,
forever.
glasses on.
Okay. All right. So mystery solved. There were two sets of eyeballs. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and move my chicken. And I got my other camera there. That's why I made a second camera, so I could see approximately where I need to put him. And then I'm going to bring him down. And I want to place him in the frame. And he kind of had him in his storyboard, kind of sideways, like so. And then, is that a good size?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go back into my shot camera. And I'm going to recompose this with my chicken. And I got a fence right in my line of sight. Oh, it's actually part of the house. And so I'm just going to make a layer and hide that because I don't. I liked my my field of view, so I don't really want to change that. Okay, so there's my chicken. I want to check this composition with respect to what he's got. And do you like that kind of higher angle? Is that how you want it to land? Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a little bigger. What just happened? Okay, so it's going to go like this. We're going to start up on the house. And I'm going to render this out. Now, I'm going to warn you here, you've kind of got a camera move into a camera move. And from a variation standpoint, it may not blend that well. But that's why we're doing this, so you can discover such things. I would maybe recommend just combining this all into one move. So you start from the sun, and you pull down and just reveal. You could go with a higher angle so that you see both houses from high above. Sun, higher angle from above, drop down, and then just settle on your chicken there. That's one solution. All right, I'm going to save this. And I want to start a new folder, so I'm going to create a shot 2 folder. And I'm going to call this shot _02 _A. And then finally, I might do an intermediate because it's kind of a long drop. You guys don't have to use sun and sky for these renders if you don't want to. It might speed things up if you do the Maya. It will look better, however, if you use the sun and sky.
So you sun the sky.
If you want it to look better. If you want to get it done fast, you can just use the... Okay, so I'm going to save this one, and then finally, final shot is we settle on our chicken. I'm using the rule of thirds here, position him, and then this is a full shot on the chicken. So we want to focus our attention on him, so I got him in the third of the frame, and I'm going to render that out. We still have a floating road.
That's the best road.
And I also forgot to put the female chicken in the background. So Eric will have to do that. And then I'm going to save this image, and I'm going to do shot to C. Okay, and then I go back to Premiere, and I'm going to import those frames. So I'm going to go to shot 2, and I'm going to say open, and I'm going to do the exact same thing I did last time. Oops, I don't want to do them all. And I'm going to drag this one in, A/B roll style, and so I'm going to go from 3 to 4. And so this pull is probably going to be a little bit slower, but I'll just do 3 seconds anyway. I'm sorry, a little faster. And then there we go. And we finally land on my chicken. So here it is. And I'm going to go ahead and save this guy. And so this is how you're going to go. I'm going to stop right here, but this is how you're going to lay out your story. So I hope you can see what I'm talking about, Eric, now, where you have 2 camera moves that are essentially the same, but they cut with each other. It's kind of a jump cut. So I'm going to recommend that you just actually combine both of these into one long move, and I think it'll be a lot cleaner. Okay, but this is the purpose of this, is you want to, now you're going to lay out your entire story, and don't give me eyes like that's too much work for this week. It should only take you about 8 hours. Something like that. I don't know, 4 to 8 hours is my guess. Shouldn't take that long. You already have your animatic. All you got to do is organize your stuff in 3D, plan out your cameras, and then render your frames with in-betweens, and then assemble it on your timeline. Next week, you're going to turn in a video, which is going to be the first incarnation of your 3D layout. Okay? From here on out, we're in layout the rest of the class. So we're going to just be working on these things until you're sick of it. All right? Any questions, hit up the Facebook group, and good luck. We will see you guys next week.